Okay, we're on page 74. We're going to talk very quickly about writing expressions. So if I'm going too fast, then you go ahead and pause the video so that you can write down, okay? So expressions are going to be where you have no equal sign. All right, so for example, a plus 2, that is an expression. That's an algebraic expression because it has a variable and a constant. Or we could have p divided by 5. That could be an expression. So we're going to talk about words that we might have that would help us go from words to expressions. So some of these words are going to help us. So addition, we're going to talk about when it talks about more than, all right, when it talks about the sum increased by, all right, that's all talking about adding. Subtraction, they could use decreased, they could use less than, they could use difference, okay. Multiplication, remember that we have groups when we have multiplication, all right, so they might use the word times. If they use the word twice or double, that just means to be multiplying by 2. The answer to a multiplication problem is the product. All right, so they might ask about that. There are 3 words that we talk about all the time that can mean multiply or divide. So per, each, and every, those are group words. So depending on how they're used, they could be either. So division, you're going to hear a quotient is the most often used, or separate. So we could use the word split, we could use the word sort, we could use the word get into groups, get into equal groups. So separate is one that is just one of those words that come out a lot of different words that could mean the same thing. And then you have equals, all right? So this is not an expression, but we're going to be talking about equations in a little bit. So the equals, if they have the word is, okay, that means that is going to mean equal. All right, so all of these are algebraic expressions. We're going from word phrases to the actual algebraic expressions. So like something that would look like this with symbols, variables, and numbers. So we have 8 more than a number, all right? So we're going to say that the number is x. We're going to make up a variable for that. So if I have 8 more than that, that means that was there first, and I'm going to add 8 to it. So when you see more than or less than, these are going to switch, all right? So the 8 is going to go second, and the x is going to come first. So 6 less than, so less than means to subtract, and 6 less than n is what the answer would be. So n was there first, and then the answer would be 6 less than that. So that's the expression. Okay, we're going to get rid of this one. The product of 9 and n. So product means to multiply. So remember we talked about when we have the multiplication sign, we really only use that with numbers. So when we start having variables or letters, that multiplication sign is not used anymore. So there's other ways to write multiplication. So the 9 times n can be written like this, 9 times n. We could write a dot, 9 times n. We could use parentheses and say 9 times n. Or we could put both of them in parentheses like this and say 9 times n. So you get to decide the way that you want it, but I do not want it written like this. The reason why is because that looks like 9 times x times n. All right, so when you start using variables and I see an x, I'm going to assume that that is a missing number also. Okay, so we are not going to write it like that. K divided by 10, so we can write k divided by 10. As you get older and into higher level, they're going to write k divided by 10. Okay, so we need to get used to writing it like this. The difference, different means to subtract. So we're going to say the difference between a number and 5. So we're going to make up x as a number and 5. The difference of 10 and q, so difference means subtract, so 10 minus q. 12 less than p. Okay, remember with more than and less than, it switches. So if my answer is going to be 12 less than P, P was here, we're going to take 12 less than that, and that would be my answer. Okay, Q times 12. Remember, times means multiply, but we're not going to use that multiplication sign. So we can say Q times 12. We could say Q times 12, just like that. If you are going to squish the number and the letter up like this, the coefficient, the number has to come first. So I would never write Q times 12 like this. All right, it looks strange. It's like, well, is it an exponent? What's happening with it? So that's just something that is kind of against the rules that you're never going to see. Okay, the quotient. Quotient means to divide. So the quotient of x and 6, so x divided by 6. 19 added to a number. So we're going to say that number is x. If I want 19 added to it, that means x was already there, and we are going to add 19 to it. Okay, so we're going to add 19 to x. 19 added to j, so we're going to have j, and then 19 is going to be added to that. Now, if you put 19 plus j, that would be okay because of the commutative property, but technically this is correct to that word phrase. Okay, the sum means to add, so g plus 11. And then we have twice a number. So twice a number means times 2. So twice this would be written like that. And then we've got 9 divided by c. So we're going from word phrases to algebraic expressions. So on this one, it says twice a number and 5. So twice a number and 5. The only thing I can think that means is to add 5. All right, so that's going to be, and I said n, let's just use x like they do. So that's going to be connected to that. So A is connected, oh, I'm sorry, x, oh, my bad, sorry. G is to A. 5 less than, remember when we see less than, that 5 is going to come next because they're saying the answer is 5 less than what was there. So twice a number, less than means to subtract. So now that one's going to be to I. Sorry for the mess. The quotient of twice a number and 5. So the quotient of twice a number and 5. So C goes with J. 2 times the sum, okay, so the sum of a number and x, so that could be like x plus 5, and then 2 times that. So they're saying, go ahead and do that first, and then multiply by 2. So f is going to be here, and then we're going to go ahead and get rid of this. I don't like the way that that's worded. All right, so here's your algebraic representation. And they're going to say whether it is an expression or an equation. So remember, an expression has no equal sign, and an equation has an equal sign. So right here, this has an equal sign, so it's going to be an equation. And its verbal, or its words, okay, are going to be, we could just say 9 times r is 45. And I could write these out in words, but we're going to be a little lazy. All right, so on this one, 1/3 the sum of 11 and p. So I'm going to focus on the sum of 11 and p. And then how do I find 1/3 of something? Well, if I gave you an apple and I said, hey, can I have 1/3 of it? You would divide it by 3. You would cut it into 3 pieces. So we're going to say 11 plus p, and then we're going to find 1/3 of it, so we're going to divide it by 3. And that has no equal sign, so that is an expression. All right, this right here has no equal sign, so it is an expression. And it's going to say 5 minus b, but let's say b less than 5 would be my answer. 32 is, so 32 is means equal to half of g. So if I want to find half of something, I'm going to divide it by 2. So since that has an equal sign, that is an equation. We've got 2 times a half minus 6. So 2 times a half minus 6. So I don't see an equal sign, so that's going to be an expression. And here I see an equal sign, so this is going to be an equation. and I could say 4 groups of W is 18. On this, they want me to write the algebraic expressions and equations on their, okay, they wrote them on their whiteboards. Which student wrote expressions? So we're thinking of ones that don't have an equal sign. So this is an expression. Let's write this out to make sure. Half a number, so cut a number in half, is, oh, that's an equal sign, that's an 8. So that's an equation, so that's not going to be an expression. Bridget, 5 increased by, that means plus, a half plus D. So that's going to be an expression. It has no equal sign. And this is also an expression because it has no equal sign.